Welcome to the Modernize or Die Podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome to the Modernize or Die Podcast, CFML News Edition. It is June 6th, and we're up to episode 197. I'm Gavin Picking, and I'm joined today by Brad Wood.
197. We're getting close, Gavin.
I know. I'm trying to time it so right when after you guys all get back from CF camp. I think it would probably be the right time for that one. We'll have to see how it works out. But yeah, lots of good stuff going on. Again, conference season is still in swing. Everyone just got off of school, so hopefully we don't get too many kids bashing through our doors for the podcast, but we'll try our best. It looks like Charlie's just got some recent news already added to the chat. If you guys are in there, give us a yell. Say hi. Hey, Charlie. How's it going? Okay, well, let's get on with this. So first up, let's thank our sponsor, Order Solutions. So what do we make, Brad? What does Order Solutions make? Do you know?
Friends.
That too. Anything else?
I don't know. I haven't actually opened the show notes.
Well,
have to go
I guess I'll
wander
read it for
around
you.
and figure out where those are.
For those who don't know, Order Solutions makes Cold Box, Command Box, Forge Box, Text Box, and all your other favorite boxes out there. There's a few we don't make, and those are the ones you don't like, and that's okay. But there's a few ways you can say thanks to Order Solutions, and some of these are free, and they're still appreciated. Like liking, subscribing our videos on YouTube. You guys can basically go star our repos and fork our repos up on GitHub, because it really helps make CFML but also Orders products better, and other community projects too. So if you like other CFML projects, make sure you like and star them. It's important to give them some love. So you can obviously hopefully you're listening to this podcast on your podcast app or watching live in the YouTube. So like us on YouTube, subscribe so you can follow up and see when we go live. Also, subscribe on your podcast player and leave us reviews. It really helps. And leave us comments on these, hopefully the good ones. But on the YouTube videos, it's always good to see a comment there. And then you can sign up for free or paid CFcast accounts. We release content almost every week. We got a lot of content coming your way very soon. And the Box Life store has some cool merch for you as well, which I'll post in the chat. What else can they do, Brad?
I don't know. I still can't get any of his dang show notes. Like in some stupid redirect loop where Google doesn't think I'm me or something, and I'm logging in for the 17th time. Oh, are we here?
Yep, I see.
Fingers crossed. Show notes. Oh, see if it kicks me out again.
Well, I'll just say
Google, I'm like knock knock, and Google Drive is like, who's there? And I'm Brad Wood's like, I don't think you are. Not on my watch. You're Brad Wood. Am I supposed to talk about Orders books now?
Yep, that's where we're at.
Hey, yeah, Orders books. Yes, we have a couple of Orders books, maybe more if I'd write the command box one, the tips and tricks. But we have the 102 Cold Box HMVC quick tips and tricks, and those available on Gumroad. And we also have our Learn Modern Cold Fusion in 100 plus minutes. It's no longer 100 minutes, which is free and online at ordersbooks.com, or you can buy the ebook or paper copy as well.
Yep, and what I was thinking though is, since you've released so many awesome command box videos lately, we should just get AI to transcribe them all, and then we can just make those into individual markdown tips, and then we can probably make up, what would you do, 27 or 37 videos this last batch? A lot.
Innumerable.
Yep, and then there's always lots of other ones, and so if someone just like follows Brad around writing down everything he says, we could probably make a book pretty quick. So you already made some videos, so we're halfway there. But we also want to thank our Patreon supporters. We have 40 Patreons at patreon.com/ordersolutions, and they're greatly supporting this podcast and our other open source initiatives. And we'll tell you more about them at the end of the show. But we want to make a big thanks to Kevin Wright, who just made a huge bump up in his Patreon pledge amount. So he's paying for his annual package, so he got that little discount. But I think he just jumped up to a bronze member. So thank you, Kevin, who spoke into the box as well. So he's giving back and thanking us. So we appreciate that. So thank you, Kevin. Okay, let's get into the news and announcements. So first up, we have the Otis training coming up. We've got some dates for you. We're confirming the venue. Got to make sure we get the contract signed before we tell you everything. But we're doing the Cold Box Zero to Hero in Las Vegas. It's going to be just down the street from the Mirage, so you can go to CF Summit in Vegas on the 2nd and the 3rd, and then you can come to our training for the 4th and the 5th of October. And so we're working on the venue, but it's going to be just a couple miles from the Mirage, so you guys can still stay at the Mirage a couple extra nights and do the training, or I think there's going to be a Marriott right next to where the training venue is, so you could always just move there after the conference. Registration will be up and open soon, but we're looking for a great group of people who want to touch up on their cold box skills, and we'll start slow, but get you a long way there and give you a lot of tools that we use every day for a cold box. So we're looking forward to during the training.
2-day workshop?
2-day workshop. So before Into the Box, we sometimes do those 1-day workshops, and it's really hard and fast, So this gives you 2 days. We can take a little bit more time. We can dive in a little deeper. It's really a good amount of time to really give everyone everything they need. So the workshop will be a 2-day workshop, and so we're just like I said, finalizing the venue and pricing. So we will have it out for you soon. But if you're not in the Vegas area on October, we got some other workshops coming up pretty soon here, right, Brad?
We do. We have the CF Camp pre-conference workshop, which we have 17 workshops we're doing. Okay, maybe it's more like 4, but it's the most that we've ever offered. They had a lot of space available, and so we are giving you guys the entire world as far as your options. So we have test box getting started with BDD, TDD. We have Cold Box 7 Zero to Hero Legacy Code conversion to the modern world, and Command Box Stripper deployment to the modern age, which is being done by yours truly. And so we have 4 different pre-conference workshops at CF Camp. And since you are one of our, do we have an adjective today for our Patreon supporters?
Well, it's not there's the Patreon supporters, but the podcast listeners. So
yeah, you're right. It's just anybody listening to the podcast. Since you are one of our beloved podcast listeners, whether or not you support us on Patreon, even though you should, we have a 30% discount you can use to register for one of those CF Camp pre-conference workshops in Munich, Germany. And that is Ortus Pre 30, so ORTUSPRE 30. So 30% discount. So definitely, if you're going to CF Camp, it's just 1 day, I believe, and go get registered for one of those pre-conference workshops using that 30% off code.
Yep, very, very cool. So good to see. And then obviously, if you guys missed the Into the Box, or if you went and you want to see a little recap, we have a cool little recap video that we just published up on YouTube, and so I'm going to share the link for that, so you guys can go watch that. So it's pretty cool. There's a couple little interviews in there, right, Brad?
Yeah. Well, actually, the recap video, I don't think it has any interviews. I think it's mostly just a little montage of clips with some fun music behind it. Unless it's a different recap video than the one I watched the other day. But either way, go watch it. It's cool.
Yeah, I saw them working on it previously. I thought they were going to throw a couple little statements in there too, but looks like a fun little video. It was a great conference, and can't wait till next year. But CF Camp's coming up, and we have CF Summit, and we'll tell you a bit more about that as we get to the conference section.
Yep.
So, new releases and updates. So, Lucy 5.4.0 release candidate is out, and remember, I put this in red so I would remember, Lucy's minor releases in their code, so 5.3 to 5.4, that's usually a minor release, but in the way Lucy does things, that is a major release. So,
well, to put it more succinctly, they put breaking changes in minor releases. So when they increment the middle number, or the second number, because they have 4 numbers, when they increment the second number, that's where they put breaking changes. So yes, now Lucy does do a really good job of being backwards compatible. So it's typically very safe to upgrade Lucy, and if they have broken something, they've documented it. But that's obviously something to keep in mind, like Gavin just said. You want to make sure you test it. You want to make sure that they haven't changed anything, and they have actually done some. I mean, I'm not going to use the word like drastic. They've been making some sweeping changes for the good in updating libraries, because Lucy had just a massive collection of old libraries with vulnerabilities that were like kicking around in them. And then Zach's been going through. They've been updating all the stuff. They've been kind of pulling out some of the really super old, crappy extensions by default. just to make sure that Lucy is small and vulnerability free. So there might be a bit more chance that you'll need to add in an extension again that you used if you're doing like Flash Forms, or God bless your soul if you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty well documented, but
Yeah,
definitely want to test it.
I like that one of the notes here says all the Java libraries that have been updated in 6 have also been updated in 5.4. So if you go to 5.4,
Mhm.
it's a good place to test all the Java libraries that when you do go to 6 are going to be changed anyway. So this will give you like a less sweeping change from going straight to 6. Give you a little bit more familiarity with some of those.
Yeah,
Um,
and Lucy's promising a release at CF Camp, aren't they?
I
Full
don't
box.
know.
I or do we have that elsewhere in the show notes? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I mean, I've heard rumors, but if you heard that,
Oh
it
well,
might be
no.
more.
It was definitely said at some point on Twitter or Slack or something that I thought
Hmm,
they were looking to have a Lucy 6 release at CF Camp. However, given the proximity of CF Camp to today, that may be a release candidate or a beta. I don't know. I can't imagine Lucy 6 being stable by then, but
yeah.
I know they've been hammering at it, even though they've been backporting a lot of stuff to 5.4. Because 5.4 is basically going to be, from my understanding, the LTS version of 5, meaning, the last giant, everything should be stable here. If you can't get to Lucy 6, you can sit on Lucy 5.4 for a while. We'll see how that happens. But anyway,
Very cool. Well, next up, we have a command box next ticket, but you wanted some discussion on that, right?
did I? Where?
Well, it was a tweet about it, and you're talking about adding rewrite map feature similar to Apache.
Oh, no, that's not the one I want to discuss. You're confusing another message that I sent out about the MariaDB for
Oh, you're
J
right. Yep.
library. But I can talk about both of those quickly.
Sure.
I've been doing an absolute fecal ton of work on Command Box, preparing a lot of our Command Box Pro features, which will still be freely usable for development and testing purposes. But multi-site is one of those features. You can have multiple sites instead of a single command box server, but a fully fledged web server for each of them. And so as part of that, I just been refactoring code and ripping out old code, and all sorts of new features have been added. And so as I've been scouring through the code, I had found some support that I'd never actually used, but have been in there for years that Denny had added. This ability to use a, I don't know if it's pronounced Maria or Maria. I never know how to pronounce
Maria.
it. Maria. Okay, thanks. The Maria DB for J, which is like an embedded Java version that loads up the native binaries for you. But anyway, the ability to have an embedded database, Maria database. That's actually part of Runwar, and I don't know if I've ever known anybody that used it, but there's some code in there, and so I had put a discussion out on the community forum, basically saying, "Has anybody ever used this? Like, can I like rip the code out? Is it useful? Should I actually document it? Maybe people would use it." There is a module that Yannick had made, um, Jan Yannick had made a while back that did a similar thing, but he would just start up a separate, server process that would load up the Maria DB4J stuff. But anyway, if you've ever used that or you're interested in the Maria DB4J stuff that's kind of baked into Runwar, you can go comment on that post on the Ortus community forum and just let me know if you're like, no, I've never used it, rip it out, who cares, or it could be useful, maybe we should document it and people will look at it. The second thing, which there wasn't necessarily any discussion necessary, but I was talking with Emmett in our box team Slack about Command Box Pro, the new cool multi-site stuff, and the new SSL stuff. You can now do SNI, which we've never been able to do in Command Box because I've just never got around to doing it. And that means you can have multiple SSL sites bound to the same IP address, but they each have their own SSL certs. And then when the request comes in, the server chooses the correct SSL cert based on the host name, which
That's
Apache
cool.
does this, IIS does this. Command Box only let you have one SSL cert. Now you're going to have effectively an unlimited number of SSL certs across an unlimited number of SSL bindings, bound with an unlimited number of bindings to an unlimited number of sites. So it's like a real big boy web server now. And so SNI is the fancy acronym that makes all that work. So I was talking with Emmett about testing SNI, and he mentioned a rewrite tool that he likes to use in Apache, which there wasn't an equivalent for, and that's called a rewrite map, which I really had never used before. But
Hmm.
basically, you can have an external text file that just kind of has like key value pairs, and it could be thousands of lines of a text file. And let's say you want to do some old school legacy rewrites where you have, site.com/product/blenders. And then in that rewrite map file, it would say blenders corresponds with ID 47. And you would have a rewrite rule that would say, go look up blenders, pull the mapped value, and then rewrite to ID equals 47 or whatever. And so I was like, dude, I could totally like build that onto Undertow because Undertow was just like crazy sick extensible. And so I did it. I added in a rewrite map feature where you can declare an external file. You can say whether or not the map's case sensitive. Um, it'll parse that, it'll cache it, and then there's a new exchange attribute which basically follows the Apache syntax where you can say go get the value out of this map, this named map file, give as many as you want using this key, and then you can use it in your rewrites. So that's done. It's on the bleeding edge of command box. And I'd love for anybody who uses rewrite maps in Apache, and that's maybe been something keeping them from going just full bore command box, to go give that a test and see how well it works. Because my goal is so you don't ever need to have another web server. Command box does everything. You drop it in, and it supports everything you need. You don't need to have Nginx or Apache or anything else sitting in front of it. So yeah, that's the rewrite map stuff. It's documented pretty well in the ticket, and it's all part of the 6.0 alpha builds, which anyone's free to download and play around with. Just keeping in mind with the multi-site stuff eventually will become part of Pro if you want to use it in production. But
Cool,
that's
cool.
those two features.
Yeah, sorry, you're right. I did read both tweets that are right next to each other, and I read half of the first one and then half of the second one and put them together. But I separated them in the show notes, so hopefully everyone who reads them can make some sense of it. And then, of course, just in case you missed it, Adobe Cold Fusion 2023 was released, and we have the ForgeBox versions up and running, right? So they can go
We
get
do.
those from Command Box. Just start up, choose your CF engine, and away you go. So
Yeah. So prior to release, we had, I mean, because we had the betas and the private alphas of 2023 on ForgeBox for months.
yeah,
And so we had changed over a collection of our largest Cold Fusion libraries, like Coldbox, Testbox, ContentBox. We had changed those builds to be running our build and all of our test suites against our matrix of Cold Fusion engines, which include Lucy 6 and Lucy 5 and Adobe 2021 and 2018. And we'd had 2023 in that list. And it's really easy to do when you're using Command Box, and anything on ForgeBox is available to start up a server with. And so we have most of those builds already switched over now, running them against the final release of 2023. And if you're using any command box Docker image, you can always immediately use whatever version of 2023 is out as soon as we put it on ForgeBox, which is usually that day or the next day.
yeah. Except when they drop it in the middle of into the box, and you and John are pretty busy.
Yeah,
That
it
did take
actually
an
took
extra day or two.
yeah, it took us 2 or 3 days that time because we were right in the middle of Into the Box when they released it.
Yeah.
But we were happy. We worked directly with Adobe on the 2023 release, getting some bugs ironed out that actually affected Coldbox. So thanks to Adobe for working with us, because very very close before the release, there was still some major issues, which turned out to be minor bugs, but they had major impacts on Coldbox application, just little parsing picadillos out there. But anyway, due to our giant test suites across all of our products we're able to test I don't want to say every square inch of CFML, but a large portion of CFML that affects our libraries. And it was nice to be able for us to give Adobe the thumbs up and say, not only does your stuff work, but our stuff works, or our stuff doesn't work, please fix it.
Yep, and then I know that talking to Mark too, like he was able to get to the engineers and get the right people on it too. So thanks, Mark, for all you do as well.
Oh
'Cause,
yeah, Mark Takata is doing God's work, man.
yeah,
He definitely helped us get that all fixed before the release.
yeah, for sure. So very cool. But yeah, if you haven't tried it, go try it out. There's a lot of cool features in it. They've got some JWT integration. They've got GraphQL client stuff, LDAP and SAML integrations. HTML PDF engines have been updated. Lots of stuff in there, and they've got some stuff coming your way soon. Speaking of webinars, meetups, and workshops, we have a couple from the online CF meetup coming up here. So we have the many ways to run CF and Lucy with Charlie Earhat. So this Thursday, June 8th at 12 Eastern, he's going to be talking about the different ways you can run those there. So he's going to be talking about deploying that different ways. Everyone talks about Docker. It's not always about Docker. There's obviously GUI installers, old school, traditional installations. There's silent installation and updates, command box, WAV files, Docker, you name it, it's on there. So Charlie's going to go through and cover all that. So you can go check out that meetup. And then he is doing a Hidden Gems in 2023 at CF Camp. He just want to, cover that one as well. But then we have another one coming up as well. So Octoperf, the load testing tool for modern web apps. And Brad, you're a little more cultured than me. How the heck do you say that name?
Well, it's French. The first word is the French equivalent of William. It's like Gilliam or something. And Low. I'm not that good at French pronunciations.
Yeah.
I always struggle. But Gilliam is the name of the guy. So this isn't a Cold Fusion talk specifically, then, is it? It's just a load testing tool.
But yeah, it's for integrated development interface to be able to test browsers and execute tests against your application. So he's going to be using a full-blown test campaign with meaningful user journeys in under 20 minutes. So I'm kind of curious if it's building on top of something like Cypress or Playwright, or if it's something else, because those tools are cool. Like Playwright does some amazing things, and Cypress is even using Playwright for some stuff now. So I'm wondering what Octoperf is. So if you guys are interested, next Thursday, June 15th at 12 Eastern, Gulia, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, we apologize, but if you want to learn how to pronounce his name and everything about Octoperf, Charlie is doing that meetup the following week. So great to see the online CF meetup back in action. And then we have a whole bunch of Adobe events coming up, right, Brad?
That is correct, good sir. We have the Adobe Cold Fusion Workshop, which is an online event coming up on Wednesday, June 21st, 9 a.m. Central.
Yep, and I think Brian Sappy is leading that one, I believe.
They don't have a description here unless I'm
I didn't go and put all the description in there, but
here we go.
Brian Sappy is leading that one.
Leverage Cold Fusion to create amazing web content. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Multiple cloud, major features, how to use CFML. Looks like a pretty high level, just why Cold Fusion is cool kind of thing. Object-oriented programming, basic error handling, PDF. All right.
Yep. Yeah.
There's that. And then we also have the Adobe Cold Fusion 2023 release in Docker and Google Cloud Platform webinar, which is 2 days later on Friday, June 23rd.
Yep, this is the one that was postponed from May.
10 a.m. Pacific.
Yep.
So this is Mark Takata doing this one.
Yep. And if you want to find out more, we have a whole bunch more listed in the show notes. But if you go to the Cold Fusion tab, you can see they've got workshops June 28th. July 26th, we have another one from Mark and the Fortuna series. And then another workshop on the 9th. So basically, the next 3 months, got a workshop and a webinar for each of those. So lots of cool stuff coming out from Adobe there. So if you're looking to find out more about Adobe 2023, they got a few coming out there. And the next one, actually, they have the developer rep from Google Cloud Platform for the one in June with Mark. So he's got him coming to talk about Docker and the Google Cloud Platform with Adobe 2023. So pretty cool. And again, we'll leave the rest in the show notes, but we don't need to go over all of them because they're every month and lots of good content. Okay, let's talk about CFCast. So Brad, if you were trying to describe someone in 30-second elevator pitch, what would you say about CFCast?
It's like Loracast, but CF.
What's Loracast? Yeah.
You'll find out yourself. For those who don't know, Loracast is actually a website we base, by we I mean Eric, base CFcast off of, which is for the Laravel framework in PHP. And the guide created this concept of a website that he posts weekly content to. You pay a few bucks to be able to view all the little tutorials and stuff. And it's just real hands-on, useful content. We've expanded CFcast, which is obviously Cold Fusion-based stuff, to be not only generic Cold Fusion content, not even Coldbox specific, but also to have paid content along with, I meant free content along with the paid content. And we use CFcast to put our Into the Box recordings onto every year. We use CFcast to put our webinar recordings onto. So we have everything kind of running the gamut from 1 hour recordings to 1 hour conference sessions to 5 minutes tips and tricks videos to series that have a bunch of little 10-minute videos that walk you through building an app. And it's all applicable to anybody doing any kind of Cold Fusion work, even though a lot of the videos may center around a box product. In some cases, that's not always the case. We have some generic, just like object-oriented programming type of content on there. And we have a bunch of our trainings, our like full-day workshop trainings that we do. We've broken up into chunks. So if it's Cold Fusion related training, we have it on CFcast.
Yeah. Now, I mean, the guy who made the Laracast one, Jeffrey Way, I think he had a
Mm-hmm.
jQuery cast eventually, or like back in the day too. Like he's done a lot of
Oh,
training
really?
videos over time, and he slowly, he got to Laravel, but he did. I'm
That
pretty sure he did jQuery. Like I remember watching him a long time ago.
that guy
Uh,
is probably filthy rich. He doesn't say anywhere how many subscribers Laracast has, but given the size of the PHP community, he probably has like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands.
yeah, I
And
mean the creator of Laravel, Taylor Otwell or whatever, has 150,000 followers compared to our little Cold Fusion world. I think even Adobe's Cold Fusion thing doesn't have 10K. I think like you and Luis are pretty high up there as far as developers, and we've got a couple thousand. So he's
yeah,
scores of magnitudes above that. But yeah,
unfortunately, that means it's harder to monetize stuff like this when you're in a much smaller pool. But anyway,
but yeah, I mean, but CFcast is doing great. We got a lot of great content.
it is.
So
It is.
obviously you
Yeah.
just released 27 or 37 videos on Command Box, and what else we got released recently?
We've got the ForgeBox Module of the Week series, 2023. So we got a new video on that one. We also had the VS Code Hint, Tip, and Trick of the Week series. So we have a new video there. And then we have all of the sessions from the previous Into the Box years, 2022, 2021, 2020, and 2019 are all available at CFcast. I think you added it up once. If you watched like everything in CFcast, it would take like days and days or something, right? If you just
There's a
stayed
lot.
awake 24 hours a day to watch everything we have up there.
Yes, there's definitely a ton of videos up there already, and we're adding more all the time. I was going to see if we look at browse. It doesn't have a total. We'll have to look at that later. But yeah, and we do have some more coming soon. So Into the Box 2023 videos will be available for purchase soon. They're going to be exclusive premium package. So basically, if you attended the conference, you get them included in your ticket. If not, you can purchase them. And if you are a subscriber, you will get access to them after the premium package expires. So you get them 6 months later. So we have this exclusive package because of the just the extra work that goes into the conference and everything else. So if you want to see them, you'll have to purchase them, or if attended the conference. Otherwise, when you wait your turn, they'll become available to the subscribers. Again, probably around Christmas time. So Merry Christmas to you then. But we'll have that available up there soon, and we'll have the purchase information available for you too. But we got more ForgeBox and VS Code podcast snippet videos getting up there, and Eric is working on ColdBox Elixir and a CB Inertia JS series, so you can look at those very soon. Okay, cfcast.com, go check it out. Remember, if you're a Patreon Bronze member, you get a subscription included as a perk. So very cool. Okay, conferences and training. So what do we got coming up,
Yeah.
Brad?
So I talked about this earlier when I handed out that discount code, but for CF Camp in Munich, Germany, our pre-conference, we have 4 trainings available to you. And so this is going to be 21st of June, which is coming up real soon. And it's
Oh
at the
yeah.
Marriott Hotel. In the Munich Marriott Hotel Munich Airport is the name of it in Freising, which is like a 15-minute taxi ride, Uber ride from the airport. So Eric Peterson is doing test box, getting started with BDD, TDD. Oh my. Luis Mahano is doing Cold Box 7 from zero to hero. Dan Card is doing legacy code conversions to the modern world, and that's not necessarily a cold box. Actually, it's not really a cold box talk at all. It's really just ways to modernize legacy code. He told me he will cover cold box at one point later in the session, but it's really just modern things you can do in legacy code. So don't be scared off by that one if you're not into cold box. And then I'm doing Brad Wood. I'm doing command box server deployment for the modern age which is really just covering all the stuff command box servers do, and I'll be covering all the new multi-site stuff. Oh my gosh, there's so much stuff to cover. I don't even know how I'm going to fit it all in one day. But the discount code for that again, ORTUSPRE ORTUSPRE 30 will get you 30% off those trainings.
Yep, and if you want a little bit more reason to pick Brad or Luis's, they made little YouTube videos, so you can check them out. So I posted those in the show notes, and you can look at those. But yeah, 30% discount's a great deal. And again, support Audis, but also get to hang out with these guys for another day before the conference. So when is CF Camp, Brad, and when do you leave for it?
Too soon. CF Camp is the 22nd and 23rd. So our pre-conference trainings are the 21st. And the next 2 days, June 22nd, 23rd, are the dates for that. And I'm actually not going early or staying late this year.
Oh, wow.
Well, I was going to with my youngest daughter, who hasn't traveled with me yet, and my wife, but we like waited an extra week to get our tickets. This was like a month ago.
That's right.
And the prices had like doubled. So we're gonna go and hang out in Germany and see the Neuschwanstein castle and all that stuff. We're just gonna do it in August. We push our vacation back a month because the prices got way cheaper to buy them a little sooner. So I'm just coming out the day before on the 20th, and I'm leaving on the 24th, the day after the conference. So I won't be doing anything crazy before or after, but I will be there the entire time. Looking quite forward to hanging out in the hotel there in Rising. That Marriott hotel has a really nice like restaurant and a bar, and it's just a great place to hang out and talk with people after the conference. So I cannot wait to see a whole like group of people that I haven't seen in person since before COVID. Other than Adam Cameron, who was just into the box like 2 weeks ago. So I am excited to see Adam Cameron again, but I just saw him, which is fun because I hadn't seen him since the last
CF Summit, I think, 2016.
Yeah, because we had
CF
talked
Camp?
about it. No, I think it might have been CF Summit since we last seen each
Yeah,
other.
it was a while ago.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it sucks that it's so much time passes between getting to meet up with people in person, but I'm super excited about going back over to Germany.
Very cool. So yeah, go check it out, cfcamp.org. And again, lots of great content there, and lots of great people. So definitely one of those cool ones. And I had some family stuff come up. I keep threatening to go visit them, but maybe next year. So, but next up, we have that conference, and it's funny because everyone says, "Which conference?" And I said, "Yeah, that conference," and that's the name.
Yep.
So that conference, it's a pretty fun conference, very family oriented, which is kind of cool. They actually have like a family track, a kids track, a partners track, and so it's kind of neat. But they have the whole summer camp vibe, and so the counselors is what they call them. They have the sit up and everything else. But camper tickets, they've got 3-day camper with no food, 4-day camper with everything, or family camper starting at $99. So they got family sessions, and you get access to the pig roast with a bacon buffet and a water park party. So if you bring your kids and stuff, it's during July, so you guys can go in summertime. It's July 24th through the 27th. And in the Wisconsin Dells, and it's a cool resort, lots of cool things happening. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool they have the no food option too, because some people can't eat the conference food, maybe got dietary restrictions and everything else, so it's kind of nice just to have a cheaper option. But pretty cool. But yeah, a lot of different sessions, 200 plus sessions, and it's got a whole bunch of different content. And you might be able to see one of our very own, because we've got 2 people from the Audis family. We've got Daniel Garcia, who's going to be presenting on Please Mr. Postman, Do You Have an API for Me? And his son is actually doing a Rubik's Cube session. He's actually leading that session, so he got chosen as a speaker too, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I might have to get in my schedule for next year, try and submit something fun there, and take the kids to the water park.
That's super awesome that his son is actually presenting as well.
Yeah, the funny thing was his son got picked first. So Daniel was like, "Oh man, it's like I hope they pick me too. It's going to be an expensive ticket, but it's like they're going to go anyway because they had so much fun last year. He presented last year as well, and he said it was awesome. So he's taking everybody in. Yeah, so very cool. And again, I think that's something we should try and do more of, the fun family things. And it's
Yeah, I
it's
love the idea of the family conference. Because a lot of times people will bring, a spouse with them or something to a Cold Fusion conference. Mall of America worked well for that because, like, the CF Objective stuff that used to be there, it was like a great places to go hang out in the mall. But this conference is like literally dedicated to the idea of your whole family coming out and hanging out and having tracks that the kids would find interesting. I think that's a really cool concept.
Yep.
But speaking of cool concepts, Adobe Cold Fusion Summit West in Las Vegas is going to be firing up again in the 2nd through the 4th of October. So early bird passes are out now.
They got extended actually. They were going to
Oh,
expire, so they lasted a little longer.
nice.
So
So it looks
extended
like
to
you can get
June 15th.
a session pass for $99. That's pocket change.
Yep.
And then a professional pass for $199. What does that mean? What's the
You get to
professional
do
pass,
the
Gavin?
the certification, the Cold Fusion certification training the day
Oh,
after. So
yes.
if you're not going to do the cold box training, you can do their professional pass on the 4th. Otherwise, you can do this conference October 2nd and 3rd and come and hang out with me and Luis and some other Ortus members for the Cold Box Zero to Hero for the 4th and the
So
5th.
Ortis's Coldbox Zero to Hero overlaps with their certification, right?
Yeah, we tried to
Okay.
get it beforehand, but the weekends, like none of the venues are open on the weekends, essentially for trainings, and the hotels are triple the price. So we're like, well, if we do it right after, that means people can, maybe fly in Sunday night, do the 2-day conference with Adobe, 2-day workshop with us, and then head home early on Friday and have, be home in time for the family on the weekend. So, and the pricing gets a lot better. It was basically brought the price of the rooms down by a third or to a third, and like I said, the venues that were available on the weekends were ridiculous. So we're
Right.
trying to bring it down. We can't match Adobe's pricing, that's for sure, because I know that they pay like $500 or $600 off everyone's ticket
Yeah,
because
they
Adobe's
heavily
marketing.
subsidize it to make it super cheap, which is awesome. They're able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely
So
take it
the
up.
the
And
call for speakers is also open as well. So if you're interested in speaking, and that includes me because I'm a lazy bum and I haven't put in any sessions yet. I don't know when it's going to be open. I heard it might be open through the end of this month, but I don't want to count on it. I need to get my stuff in. So
yeah,
the call for speakers form is just a really simple form. You just
yep,
slap in your stuff and
yep.
definitely get your topics in. We were like, I think the other people at Orders were all having like placing bets so you could post the most number of
We
topics.
weren't trying to.
And I think Nolan still beat everybody anyway, so it didn't
No,
matter.
I don't know. I got a Nolan level 12 in already. So,
Oh wow, you got 12 topics in. I
and
don't
the
even know
funny,
if I can compete with that.
well, a couple of them I changed the name and the little description of them. They're very similar, but I know that they'll appeal to different crowds. So, but yeah, I was only gonna do like 4 or 5 because it's like you never know what to submit to CF Summit. It's a very different crowd there. Usually 85% of the people I've never seen before in my life, and the others are very new. But it's really cool coming up, having people come up and say, "Hey, we listened to the podcast." I'm like, "You do? Cool." Like I didn't know that, but so we got a lot of people coming up and saying hi. The booth was super busy last year, so if you're a patron, come say hi. If not, definitely come up and check out the booth. We're gonna try and have a big Ortis turnout again. We love the conference and we love the food there too. There's great food, and we're hoping that we're gonna be right next to Fogo de Chow's for the training, so we can go Fogo de
Ooh.
Chow's after the training. So
Oh yeah, that sounds good. Get that shrimp
yep,
as well.
and obviously Top Golf is always fun just to hang out and all hours of the night. It's a good time. But yeah, so go get your speaker submission in there. But if not, $99. Like to be honest, paying $99 for the stress of not having to present might be worth it. But you do get a hotel thrown in if you do get to speak, so that's kind of nice too. But yeah, and again, we did say the Otis training. So Cold Box Zero to Hero, October 4th and 5th. We're going to be getting that registration form up soon. We're just confirming the venue. We got a couple of good options. We're just trying to get the best deal to make sure that everyone can do that. But if you're going to book your ticket, make sure you save a couple of days for that. And again, we're hoping to have a few more of the oldest people there. So, maybe you got some questions you want to throw at Brad if he's hanging around after or whatnot. You might be able to do some of that too. So, but it's always a good time to meet up again, old friends, and we're looking forward to it. And if you don't have enough conferences, you can get comps.tech and find out a few more other ones online and in person around the place. But when you do, you'll see just how expensive all those other conferences are. So it makes our ones look pretty affordable.
Yep.
Okay. Whoops, I think I got the wrong order here. Aha, there we go. Blog, tweets, and videos of the week. I was like, it's not time for jobs yet. So, first up, we have one, and I'll let you talk about this one from Ben Adele, because he's talking about a code kata about simple dependency injection with Cold Fusion. Did you look at this one, Brad?
No, I did not. Code kata. I know what code katas are. Simple dependency injection DI with Cold Fusion. I believe this should just be a blog post on Wirebox because it's pretty simple. Oh no, it appears it's not.
So, yeah. I actually listened to the Working Code podcast, and he was talking about it. I'm on the early access, so you guys wouldn't have heard it yet. But yeah, he was looking at trying to build one. He's just doing some simple stuff, and so he's like, well, it's a fun code kata. Maybe I can build my own and sort of see what I need to do. And he looked at DI1 and Wirebox and everything, and he wanted to see, well, what do I actually need? I'm not doing anything too fancy, so I don't need all the awesome stuff that the Wirebox and DI1 can do. I think he even mentioned like model glue in the past and everything. But anyway, I guess he wrote it in about 300 lines of code. Doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but
you should call it DI 1/2. Take that.
Yeah, maybe. So basically walk through that. It's kind of a fun little code kata. But yeah, again, I like Ben's methodology. But I know that Adam Cameron is on the other side of the planet fuming when Ben starts talking on the podcast. I swear Ben just riles Adam up on purpose when he talks about writing tests and then deleting them because he doesn't need them anymore. Or rewriting dependency injection frameworks. But Ben listens to the show. But yeah, he has a lot of great stuff, and it's really cool to see a simple broken down version of things like this, because everyone sees these frameworks that we've built and everything, and they're like, they might be a little overwhelmed, but sometimes at the core of it, it's not as complicated as you think, just a lot of best practices built in. But Ben was also busy because on June 1st, we had the 16th annual regular expression day. Do you remember this, Brad? Every year Ben does a regular expression day.
No, I must have missed that. Sorry, I'm still
really?
scanning through the blog post. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean he has his regular expression day, and so he's basically over the last 16 years he celebrates regular expressions, and how cool they are. And so every year he just sort of does a little bit different deep dive into it. But yeah, regular expressions are awesome. But what's the saying? It's like, I've got a problem, but I know the answer is regular expressions, and now I've got two problems.
That's not how it goes, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
It says developers see a problem and think, I know I'll solve it with a regular expression. Well, now you have two problems.
Yeah. But I mean, one cool thing about ChatGPT, like it can explain what it's doing pretty well. Sites like regex are really good too, and they're definitely very powerful. So, but yeah. Although I found a little bug yesterday trying to use regular expressions, didn't I, Brad?
Well, yeah, it turns out it had nothing to do with regex, but you did find a bug in command box, which is fixed on the bleeding edge.
Yep. But yeah, so again, regular expressions, and I think last time did he have it where he has the previous versions. So these you can go back in time and see all those different regex ones. He's got prizes of the first ones. Why are there no prizes now, man? But so he started back in 2008. It's kind of crazy that he's been posting it for this long. But very cool. Okay, Brad, what else has Ben talking about? Have you seen the...
I don't know. I'm reading it now. Using nested locks to synchronize background data cleanup. It's interesting. I've been doing a lot of Java development this last month since I've been working on Runwire, which is the server component of command box. And there's so many things in Java that I'm just reminded how much easier it is to do in Cold Fusion. I'm like, oh man, this would be so easy if it were Cold Fusion. And just case sensitivity annoys the crap out of me. Everything's always case sensitive, and I'm just so used to it not mattering, and so I have to go through all this extra effort. But locking is another thing. Like Cold Fusion developers appreciate CF lock because it's so much simpler, in my opinion, than a lot of the locking constructs in Java, which also tend to be heavy-handed, I think. Synchronizing an entire method or an entire class. And the ability to do something like a named lock or even just a read-only lock isn't nearly as easy out of the box with Java. So anyway, I'm looking at what he's doing here with nested locks. He's starting with a read-only lock, and then he does an exclusive lock. I would have to read this to understand
Yeah,
why
so
that's.
he's got an outer lock that deals with the background pruning of expired tokens, and the inner lock deals with a user verifying single tokens. So just different levels of locks. And so he's got a read-only lock on the outside, and then exclusive lock on the inside, and obviously, you got to check out the repo for all the code. He's trying to make it more readable in here as he goes
Yeah, I
through.
mean, honestly, I would caution against nesting locks just in general because it's a really good way to create deadlocks. I'd have to absorb this post to understand exactly what he's doing with it. Well, I mean, what I think he's trying to accomplish is probably sound in that you don't want to heavy you don't want to just use heavy-handed locking and think, oh, I need to modify some data that may be used. I'll just wrap everything in an exclusive lock. Because then you have threads waiting that don't actually really need to wait. And so the whole goal is, how do you keep just the threads that are just getting some data from not having to wait in a lock. But the thread that's actually changing something, is appropriately locking what it needs to. But that always looks a little different based on what you're doing.
Yep.
I don't. I'm just trying to absorb the code here. Unless there's code missing, I've never written code where I have a read-only lock, and then I have. Oh, I see. He's using a different name. So he has a read-only lock called token service prune tokens, and then inside of it he has a nested exclusive lock that only applies to a given token.
Yeah, so they don't want to
I'm not.
verify the same one twice, basically. So he's single threading that to make sure that we don't verify it twice. So, but yeah,
Yeah, I'd have to. I'd have to. It looks like this is kind of like a skeleton code. I'd have to see more what it's doing. Because the pattern that I use a lot, and I was just doing it in Java last week, is if you have some sort of data that needs to be updated based on some flag and multiple threads, potentially the first one who reaches it could be the one that updates it. I always use the double check lock pattern where you check and say, is the data out of date? If so, acquire an exclusive lock. Then once you're inside the exclusive lock, ask again, is the data still out of date? And then only then do you update it. Because that way, if you have multiple threads all waiting to acquire the exclusive lock, only the first one in needs to update the data, and the rest of them connects it immediately.
got
Um,
it.
but I don't like I don't see any of that going on here, so I'd have to absorb this to understand um, what he's doing with it. Personally, I would say that concept of double check lock is probably I don't want to say more important because I don't quite understand what he's doing here, but that's probably one of the most important concepts to grasp. And of course, if Venkat were here, he would say that the even better thing is to use locking as little as possible. In all possible cases, just never lock. And I did that. I was about to last week, and I was writing some code for. Well, actually, it was that rewrite map functionality, right? If the date modified bit of the file changes, I have to reload the map in memory, and the server potentially is online and sustaining traffic
Doing stuff,
during
yeah.
this time. And I was going to synchronize the method or use a synchronized block, and then I was like, wait a minute, I don't need to have any synchronization. The thread that updates it, I want to make sure it only happens once. But I build the new data inside of a new hash map, and when it's done, I just switch the data out at the bottom of the method, and there's no need to lock that. It's an atomic operation. So at first I thought I would have locking that might block the threads just trying to use the data, and then when I thought more about it, I realized I don't need to have any locking at all. At least on the threads that are looking to use the data, only the thread that updates the data. But anyway,
Yeah.
locking is always difficult to talk about without examples, and the examples to make them realistic oftentimes have more code that can be easily grokked by just scanning them.
Yep. But yeah, like I said, I'd like to see that. And the interesting thing about that one of Ben's is he's actually started a new project. So he's doing this deep fitness MVP app, and so he's rebuilding this sort of from scratch. And he talks about it on the working code podcast and sort of the steps he's taking and everything. So, you know, and that's actually what the next one we'll talk about from him is discussing as well. But before that, we actually had a tweet from HTMX.org. So that's the HTMX.org is sort of like the almost Alpine JS like stuff that they have going on, and they kind of threw a little shade CFML, so I thought I'd mention it and maybe people can go and comment on it. But they're like, how many young web developers today can even conceive of a world so based that technology logos could look like this and nobody cringed? So they're cringing on their logo. People wore the stuff on
I just thought
T-shirts.
that was a cool logo, man.
Yeah.
The hand of a lightning bolt was classic.
Yeah, walking around, living the moment, high-fiving, never forget what they took from you. And so the funny thing is, Tony Junkers is like, should I feel attacked? You should feel seen because you are seen. And then so HTMX, hearts cold fusion apparently. A couple other people were like, basically responding like, hey, CFML rocks, So I was going to say, if you guys jump in and leave a few extra comments, if you're still on the Twitterverse, go tell us that we love Cold Fusion and we love that shirt. So I thought it was kind of a bit of a laugh. But back to Ben. So Ben was building his MVP, and one of the pieces in the MVP is he wanted to do a magic password link setup. And so he sort of talks through that process in this blog post here. But the interesting thing too is he actually talked about some of the possible downsides with it, because some people are out to basically make money by what do they call it, like SMS trolling or tolling, and so I'm wondering if they can do stuff with email or whatnot too. But basically magic links. So if someone has your email, they can sign up for an account by just sending the email and it sends you a password. You never have to create an account. It's connected. It's a passwordless login system. And so he talked about building this, and again he always puts the caution: I'm not a security expert. He's learning in public. But I thought it was kind of interesting. But he was also saying he may have to look at rate limiting or something, because for their business, a lot of people, I guess in some other countries, where it's not a like a millicent to send an SMS text message, some people actually will sign up as account. Like, I'm a little cell phone provider in this interesting small country, and so basically every time a text message gets sent through my system to one of my numbers, that I get a kickback from the company for doing it. So I get a percentage of the whatever the fee is. And so I guess people are signing up to all these services where they send SMS verification codes to these weird numbers in other countries, and the person basically makes 20 cents for every text that they send. So they basically just spam all these forms with SMS numbers to phone numbers on their made up network that they get paid. And I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. I never would have thought of that as a way to make money, is to basically sign up as a cell phone provider for a weird country.
So I assume it's basically like a short code where you pay to text it.
Yeah, essentially. And so in Twilio in America is not that bad, but in some South American countries or whatever, it might be 25 cents per text, and the company who owns that number might get a share, 10 cents or 15 cents or whatever of the text fee, and maybe the main provider itself, like the real company, gets the other share or something. But apparently that's what happens to a lot of big companies, that people just basically try to get all these SMS codes sent through their network, and then they make money off of it, because your company's wasting money and they're making money off of it. So they're draining a big company's bank account and they're getting rich off the toll, which is
I'm kind of surprised that the systems are using to send the text messages just automatically send those and incur the cost. But the only time I've ever come across the short codes that charge you money is when I went to text something on my phone, and my phone would have this big warning that'd be like, well, hold up, you're going to be charged money if you send this text. Are you okay with it? I'd be like, okay, never mind, I'm not. So apparently these are configured in such a way that it just automatically incurs the cost, which is surprising.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a side tangent based, he just was talking about it in comparison to that. But yeah, I mean, when you go sign up an account, it always asks you for your phone number for your SMS text, like Uber or whatever else. And so if you make up enough fake accounts with phone numbers in these accounts, the Uber basically sends a text message on your behalf, with a code. And so that Uber sending it costs the money. And like I said, most things in America is really cheap, super, super cheap, but other countries aren't that way. And so I guess that's just the one way to make money in other countries, which is weird. But, Ben's code just talks about, sending a passcode, essentially. Just a one-time token, essentially, that he's creating and sending through. So, I like these sometimes. I hate them at other times, because I hate them to go to my email just to get something when I want to just log in somewhere. But it's nice to have the option, because sometimes you can never remember the damn password. Every time you go log in, they've expired and they want a new one. So, anyway, so that's what Ben did. So he's got full code examples up there. And again, check out his little fitness app that he's building. Find out more about it. It's kind of cool to see apps like that built in public. But yeah, that's our blog posts for this week.
So now we're on to our jobs. So looks like we have 3 new jobs listed on getcfmljobs.com.
Yep.
We have a full-time Cold Fusion developer at Hyderabad, Telangana, India. All right.
Yep.
Purview Services posted yesterday. Nice.
Yep. And then we had one from some people we know over at Kansas University, the Kansas Geological Services Survey Group, the KGS at Kansas University. They have an application developer in Lawrence, Kansas, and so that job was posted on May 27th, and they asked us to make sure we spotlight it here on the podcast. So yeah, consider that.
And Lawrence is only like 45 minutes away from where I live, so I know a lot of people that go to KU. That's pretty cool that they have Cold Fusion happening over there. What's actually funny is that Ortis has done some training and work with this team. And normally but it's all been remote. Normally when I do, consulting with companies, they're like somewhere else in the country or somewhere else in the world. And the irony is when I do it with these people, they're like 45 minutes away. It's like, well, I could have just drove over there.
Yeah, maybe you can drive over for a whiteboard session if they're.
We had actually joked about that at one point, about having me like literally just like drive over at some point. But we'd never gotten around to it. We always just use Zoom.
Yep. Yeah. So I met them on Zoom not too long ago too. So very cool. Yeah, they're doing some some migration and stuff, and looks like a good team to work with. And then they also have another one here in the United States.
We have a Lucy Cold Fusion developer. At United States. Wow, that's redundant. Is Batesville is the name of the company? I'm not familiar with that one. Is this an online position or is this in a specific area?
It's a remote.
All it says is
it's a remote position.
So that's why it's all generic-y.
Yep. Batesville is a diverse culture, solve unique industry challenges.
But yeah, say that. It's cool that it lists Lucy specifically.
Yeah.
When they say Lucy / Cold Fusion, they're either using both or they're just using Lucy and they wanted the Cold Fusion keyword in there. But either way.
Yeah, they're supporting existing custom applications written in Java, JavaScript, and or Lucy / Cold Fusion. You get to develop new application features and existing features based on requirements, and obviously there's a lot more if you guys want to read through it all. But so there's a few. Yeah, I wonder what Batesville is. Said $600 million or something. It's a Batesville casket company. Interesting.
Batesville sounds like a city.
I know. So, I mean, they make $600 million a year in revenue. It's a comprehensive portfolio of burial and cremation casket services.
Well, there could be multiple companies called Batesville, even though that's the one that comes up the top of Google.
No, that's the one that I'm looking at on the job opportunities
page. Because I Googled and that was the name I was seeing. So that is interesting.
Yeah, well, just for those who are at home, I'll share the screen real quick. So so Batesville.
Discount caskets. That's
$600 million of annual revenues. Means they're doing okay.
There's always people dying, and those caskets aren't cheap. So,
yep, for sure.
Wow.
They offer cremation and burial stuff, so I wonder if they have. But yeah, interesting. So
I don't know what to do with Cold Fusion, but it sounds cool. Especially since they use Lucy. They can't be too much of a stick in the mud if they're out there using Lucy. They've probably got some fun stuff going on.
Oh, very cool. So yeah, that wraps up our jobs again. The KGS Kansas University, and there's job channels in the CFML Slack and the Box Team Slack channels too. And if you have any, let us know. We'll try and give you guys a little bit more special attention. It's nice to know the people behind the jobs too, not just sending you off to some, recruiter link that maybe is a, unknown quantity. So next up, ForgeBox module of the week. And Brad, were you in Grant's session?
No, I don't think I was. Because I saw Scott Steinbeck's session on AI stuff, and I think Grant's might have been in the other room.
Yeah, I was in
the box.
I was there, so I was like, I didn't think you were there because basically, if you were in one room, I had to be in the other room. It was just
I would have liked to have seen it. Scott's AI session was awesome. He had a really good just kind of history of the overview of the progression of like the actual libraries and what they do. Um, but yeah, so Grant had a library called CB Open AI. So it's a module that provides a simple API to access OpenAI's variety of AI service.
Yep.
And looks like we have a link to his presentation,
Yep, which
and
I'm
then
showing.
the AI will kill us all, Grant. The module itself is on Box of the Forge. Um,
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting because he talked about, you know, text generation, image of a media responding to prompts, and so he talks about a different thing like the AO playground, and then how this sort of steps in. So it does some pretty cool things. Create completions, chat completions, create images, image variations, and then if you look through, he's got some code in there giving the prompt, and prompt engineering is a thing, so get up with speed. But he did talk about this, and we'll have the video up in CFcast soon. But yeah, you can see what comes back from the the core using CB OpenAI, chat
Nice.
completion
So
options.
are we using this on the Ortus Chat GPT?
No, we're not. This is just using the API
Wah,
directly
wah.
with using the module. We built ChatGPT before Grant built this, but Grant and I were the ones who were working together on the ChatGPT stuff, and so that was a good separate sort of enterprise.
So
But we
so
could update it to use this and use the
so
API.
so this would allow you to bypass the Python libraries that we use for the Chat GPT stuff,
Yeah, this directly interfaces
right?
with
To open it, yeah.
OpenAI, but we don't have all the LangChain stuff that we're using, top secret. I think you're in Scotsman, you
Oh.
would have heard. But LangChain's an open source library that helps you communicate better with the LLMs. It gives you ways to like merge different embeddings and agents together, and gives you chains of things, and so it can give you a lot more. This one you'd have to build a lot of that sort of stuff yourself, which you can. The OpenAI APIs are really great for that. And the idea with this one is that this is OpenAI, and we're gonna try and do similar things with like Bard from Google and some of the other ones, and so it's a good one here. But if you can see, he's basically trying to generate a dog in a hat or whatever. I think that's what it was. If we go back, was it a dog with a funny hat was the create image prompt, and then basically it output that.
So
So
we need to update our Ortus Chat GPT to start using this then. Get that
yeah,
LangChain stuff
they
added in.
also have a TypeScript version of the LangChain stuff as well. So if you don't want to use the Python, but Python is where all the development is. That's where everyone in the AI world lives in Python. So that was the first thing. But yeah, there's a whole TypeScript piece, and then you can interact with the APIs directly yourself. But some of the cool things you get from the LangChain, open source stuff, you won't have available there. But it's still
So
pretty cool.
we need some clients out there looking to do some AI integrations to come work with Ortus so we can get some funding to finish fleshing out this module is what I hear.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, and the thing is, like, this case study here, Grant actually showed of a real client project, like they did all this work to fix a bunch of like poor titles and SEO descriptions and everything else, bad grammar, misspellings, and OpenAI. Basically, it worked out to be $30, like less, basically a cent per product is what it cost to fix all those things. So they got better product descriptions, they're more readable, longer descriptions, convincingly human, no misspellings and grammar issues, better SEO, meta keywords, and meta descriptions. And,
That's
basically
pretty cool.
in a day,
Was that an Ortus client?
that was an Otis client. Grant worked on
Dang.
it, and so that's why it's this.
We have so many silos going on at Ortus. I don't even know what people are working on sometimes. That's awesome. I wish I
Yeah.
could have seen this session now.
Yeah, so I mean,
Well, hey,
basically,
it'll be on CFcast soon, won't it?
it will for sure. And so, yeah, but open the CB OpenAI, get a taste of what it's doing, and obviously can contribute back to that one, make it better, and then we can try to make similar ones for some of the other pieces. But yeah, with like there's lots of different things you can use and tie into, and so it's kind of neat. But the only thing is, Brad, with the OpenAI API interface, like we can't do vectorizing in the API yet, any of that other stuff. So we trained our stuff. So we'd have to basically create a vector and then pass the vector through the API stuff. So
When you say a vector, what do you mean?
vector database is the way they store the AI probabilities. They basically you take text, which are like essentially groups of words and punctuation. They break them down into tokens. Each token is then mathematically calculated to be probability of following and preceding other things, and essentially it's
Hmm.
this weird vector database, and that's how it's all stored. And so when you do when you enter something in, you basically query the vector database to find similar things or probability wise might show up. Then you send that and your prompt all the way back to OpenAI or whatever you're using with the pieces of the vector database, and then it uses that to figure out the response and then generates the text to try to make it sound good. So yeah, so basically these are little simple things. If you want to like say, hey, here's 23 auto skip books and we want you to use this to figure out a response, that would be a lot more work because you don't want to be passing all of that content to OpenAI over the API because you use a ton of tokens, and it'll be a whole lot more than a few dollars for some questions and answers.
Right. All right. So
But
if
yeah,
somebody out there needs to come hire Ortus to do some AI stuff, so we can keep fleshing this out.
yeah, it's,
We,
it's
we
super
we
cool.
build a lot of stuff in our free time, but the reality is a lot of the libraries that we built are actually because we have a client project and someone's paying us to, oops, I just hit my microphone. Someone's paying us to come, solve their problems, and out of that is where these open source modules spring from. So there's obviously a lot of places we can take this.
Yeah, I mean it's super cool. And if you guys aren't using Copilot in your code or even the Copilot labs for asking questions, summarizing, expanding regexes so you know what the heck they mean. There's a lot of cool things out there where, AI can help you. Just remember it's generating text based on probability. So a lot of times it figures out what the function name should be for your language, but if they're like Cold Fusion, they never write. Uh, but maybe you could use them to figure out what you should be naming things. So maybe we should do
Yeah.
that with our Codebox stuff. Like, what should we be naming our functions?
Oh gosh, don't do that. Coalbox 8 will rename everything again.
Maybe. Anyway, so that is our ForgeBox mod of the week. CB Open AI. Go play with some chat. Go generate some images and have some fun. Next up, we have our VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week, and this one Daniel Garcia shared, and it's called VS Power Mode.
I feel
And
like
your
you're saying it wrong. Like you need to imagine Hulk Hogan being like VS
power
Code
mode.
Power Mode, like WWF or something.
Yeah, I'm not quite as cool as you, but I was like, what the heck is power mode? And I'll show you. So power mode is this little repo, which basically when you start typing, you get explosions and you get hit counters, and apparently it's been in every other IDE out there except for VS Code, because VS Code wouldn't let you do it, but they worked hard to bring it to you. And so, there's powerful combination meters. You got some strong defaults and different effects. So yeah, you can do particles.
Does it play sound
You
effects?
I don't know. I don't have it on my view here, so I'm not sure. But
You haven't
you've got.
installed it and used it, Gavin?
I haven't yet. I just found it this morning. But apparently, you can do riffs. You can do riffs exploding.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yep, you can do fireworks.
I
So
want to know
far.
how much it slows down VS Code.
Well, the funny thing is, VS Code doesn't give you access to the DOM elements. They're actually using it by
Right.
doing text decoration. So that's why it was kind of weird.
Oh
But you can do
wow.
magic. It is Clippy, Brad. Your Clippy is there.
Love it.
So you can change different things, and but yeah, that's something pretty interesting. But the funny thing is like I said, apparently every other major editor had it, and so they had to get it to work. So they said it wasn't possible, not implementable.
Currently not implementable. It's crossed out.
Yeah,
That's
but
hilarious.
apparently they did it. So but yeah,
I
that combo meter is pretty cool. So the
I
faster you
I
type, the higher your combo meter goes. So if you slow down and think about it, your combo meter goes down. So
we need to like dare someone to do an entire conference session using para mode.
I'm tempted to throw it in there for Luis, see if he's as fast as he thinks he is. So live coding, here we go. But anyway, bit of fun there. There are some other good ones coming as well. But sometimes that stuff just break up your day a little bit and make you smile. So VS Code Power Mode. So
So I know we're at the end of the podcast, but I just saw some like live news coming out
oh.
from Luis regarding the Ortus Hibernate extension. Do you want to cram that in?
Oh well, I did. Yeah, we can do that. I did want to get that out there. They were still working on the blog post for it, but
Well, the blog post
uh,
was released.
I know I'm adding it right now.
If
So
I can find where the heck I saw Luis post it.
I already
I,
got it.
oh, do you? Okay.
Yep. So it's in the marketing channel. But anyway, I'm gonna share it on our screen for those who are watching. And so we'll go back and yes, we'll. So this is
Live content, people. Streaming to you live at the speed of Twitter.
yep introducing the Otis ORM extension. So
What is
during
this?
So during the keynote, they made a little thing about forking something, and everybody was like, "Did they fork Lucy?" No, we forked the Lucy Hibernate extension, and so now we have the Otis ORM extension. And so Michael Bourne's been doing a lot of work on this, writing a whole bunch of Java, and done a ton of work, and made a huge amount of updates as well. So not only do we port it, we did a lot of work, make some fixes, make some changes, and he's already got ORM reload time down by 60%, which is crazy.
Yeah, Michael Bourne spent I don't know how much time ripping the Hibernate extension apart and rebuilding it. Um, and I mean I say that sort of jokingly, but also not joking. And this is the newest version of Hibernate, which is built on the newest version of the extension built on I don't want to say the newest, but whatever significantly newer version of Hibernate. For any of you using just like Lucy 5310 and whatever Hibernate extension you get out of the box, you're still, I believe, on Hibernate like 3.5, which is like 8 billion years old and just like chock full of CVEs. And Ortus sponsored the development to update that ORM extension to use newer version of Hibernate. But that still hasn't made it into a version of Lucy yet. It was always slated for Lucy 6, which has always been like 7 years away. And one of the main reasons was there was always this like cloud of just regressions hanging over that extension that we just couldn't get moving on and we couldn't get fixed. And we have clients, big clients, that use ORM in Lucy, and they need Hibernate to work and need all those bugs to be fixed. And obviously, it hasn't been a core uh, concern of the core Lucy team, because not a lot of people use Hibernate. It's more of a fringe feature, and so it's always kind of just languished off in the bug tracker with all these things. But it's important to us and it's important to our clients. So that's basically why we said, well, this is open source. We can help take over this extension and we can help push it forward and we can fix these bugs. And so the newest version of this extension not only is using the newer Hibernate versions, but it has a whole ton of bug fixes that we've put in, that we found to fix most of the problems people were still having with the Hibernate stuff. So anyway, it's out there in ForgeBox. You just need to uninstall Lucy's Hibernate extension, or if you start with Lucy Lite, just install our GUID for it. And we're gonna have a lot of movement and updates happening on that extension, which is super exciting.
Yeah, very cool. So other news while we're on the sidetrack news. So Charlie just said, speaking of Clippy, that Microsoft announced that Cortana is going the way of the Dodo Bird too. So Microsoft's killing off their assistant, which is interesting. I know a few people actually really like that.
I never used it. I always found it annoying. I found it as annoying as the stupid Bing button on the side of my Samsung Android phones. Right? I'm just trying to turn the stupid volume down, and it's like, oh, you're Bing personal assistant. Like, shut up. No, I don't want you. You like literally can't turn it off. Anyway, Cortana was just as annoying to me as that. I never used it.
And speaking of the other big players too, so Apple now no longer has any products using an Intel chip. They've got the chips have been migrated off, so they're using M1s and M2s from Apple.
Really? I mean, I knew all the new stuff
announcement.
ran on M1s. I didn't know that they were actually like leaving. Did they have like a beef with Intel that they're leaving them, or is it just they think this is the way forward?
Well, I think they can have better control, better pricing, better heat management, better battery life because they can control everything. And so
these are all ARM, right?
Yeah. So basically, all their stuff is ARM now. So it's down there. Sorry, I didn't change it back to news for us, but yeah, it's kind of interesting that sort of happened. Of course, they released the $3,600 goggles, which is funny because Google and goggles really close, but Apple released goggles. Google glasses used to be pretty slick, cool, similar to the glasses you're wearing, and they could do some interesting things. But now they've got the big Ready Player One type goggles. So if you want to wear like ski goggles around on your head, 300-pound goggles, you can pay about
Holy cow.
almost $4,000 for them, and you can wear those. But apparently, someone's like, well, you can do FaceTime now, but they can't see your face because you got goggles on, so it's like eye time.
Here's a close-up of my retina while we're talking.
Exactly, and so people are going to be taking snapshots of people's retinas and see what they can unlock with stuff.
Exactly.
But
retinal
yeah.
scan complete.
But yeah, there was some other interesting Apple stuff, but those are the big things that drew my attention too. So lots of interesting stuff happening in the tech world. Anyway, back to the rest of the show. Let's finish up with our Patreon. So we want to thank our Patreon supporters. Without them, they really couldn't do half the stuff we do, right, Brad?
Right, you are, Gavin. Without them, we couldn't do half the stuff we do.
Yep. Okay, well, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, obviously they're personally supporting us, and we appreciate each and every one of them. And there are some perks. If you go to patreon.com/ordersolutions, you can find out more about what all the different levels are. And some of the perks you have, if you're a bronze member, you get the ForgeBox Pro and CFcast subscription as a perk for being a Patreon subscriber. And you also get some profile badges on the community website, and you get a private access on the community website, and you also get a private channel on the Box Team Slack. So if you guys want to get us any news or anything special and you're a supporter, make sure you're in the Box Team Slack Patreon channel, and you give us some inside information, any news or anything you guys see that you want us to cover, or any job opportunities you have. Remember, the community.ordersolutions.com. It's search engine friendly, so if you guys have questions, and asking them there means we can Google and find them later. But we have a lot of Patreons. So we can only handle reading out the top few. So Brad, you want to give us the top Patreons that we have this week?
Yes, our proficient Patreons was that. Oh, you just deleted it. Was that the word? Was that the adjective from last week?
Maybe. I'm not sure. So that's why I
Maybe.
just removed
Okay. Well, we have John Wilson from Synaptrix. We have Tomorrow's Guides, and we have Jordan Clark.
Yep, and then we have Gary Knight, Mario Rodriguez, Giancarlo Gomez, David Bellinger, Dan Card, Jeffrey McGee from Sunstar Media.
Your audio, Gavin.
Did you? Oh, I don't know. It looks like I've got audio.
And you're back.
Okay, well, I'll start again for them. So, apparently my internet's unstable. Sorry about that, everybody. But Gary Knight, Mario Rodriguez, Giancarlo Gomez, David Bellinger, Dan Card, Jeffrey McGee, Dean Maunder, Nolan Irk, Abdul Raheen, and Kevin Wright, who, big thanks to Kevin, who just made a bump up, so he's now in our top Patreon, so thanks for that, Kevin, we appreciate it, and many more Patreons, so thanks everybody, have a great one. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.